Welcome to Chicago, they said. With my boy. I'm with my boy right now. You know what I'm saying? Also in the building, bro. And my boy got the pants. I'm sad pants. You know what I'm saying? Nardwaur.
Just trying to push back.
Nardwaur. The legend right there, boy. The whole meet and greet for my boy. Legend, bro.
Went to camp with.
Damn, this is lit. I don't know if I could keep this in tip-top shape by the time I get back, but this is lit. No Ken Carson though, no Ken Carson, but we outside. Legend for real. Legend for real. Legend for real though.
It was Friday afternoon, I think possibly in 1991. I was at CITR Radio, where I do a show every Friday, 3:30 to 4 p.m. at that time. I only did half an hour, and the phone rang. The show I was doing was over. The phone rang and was answered by Linda, the station manager of CITR Radio. At the other end of the line was Courtney Love, who later went on, may have been married at that time to Kurt. Courtney was on the line talking to Linda saying, "Hey, I'm phoning in for an interview with Tom." And Linda said, "Hey, Nardwaur, where's Tom?" And I said, Tom wasn't there. So Linda said to me, "Hey, Nardwaur, do you want to interview Courtney Love?" And I was like, "Yeah, okay." So I did the interview, I pre-taped the interview, and then I played it on CITR Radio. And let's just say, I kind of never wanted to talk to Courtney ever again. And I thought I'd never have to deal with her ever again. But I played the interview and I went home. As I was having dinner, I think it was pierogies or something like that, the phone rang. And it was Tom that was supposed to interview, I'll do a phone interview at CITR Radio with Courtney Love. Tom had gone down to Courtney Love's gig for a band Hole at the Cruel Elephant in Vancouver and said, "Hey Courtney, I'm here to do the interview." She said, "No problem, you missed the interview, but there was another guy that I talked to called Nardwaur. And I am not going to do this interview, nor am I going to go on stage unless Nardwaur comes down and comes to my gig." So I'm sitting there eating my pierogi singing, okay, I gotta go down to the gig because if I don't show up, she won't go on. So I go to the gig, I watch the interview that Tom does with Courtney Love. It's uneventful. I see Courtney Love's band, Hole, play for 50 people, and then I go home. And I think to myself, I'll never have to deal with Courtney Love or Hole ever again, but I saved their gig in Vancouver. A couple years later, my friends in the band Cub were opening at the town pump for Courtney Love's band Hole, and I wanted to see Cub. My friend Grant from the band The Schmugglers said, "Hey, I heard your interview with Courtney Love you did before. Are you going to talk to her again?" I was like, "No, I don't want to talk to Courtney Love again." He's like, "No, that was amazing. You should talk to her again." I was like, No, it's not set up. I just want to go to the gig and I want to see my band, my friends in the band Cub. That's all I want to do. I haven't set up an interview. It's not going to happen. The interview is not going to happen. And he was like, "Well, I have a way of getting to every interview that I ever want to do. I have a way to going to every gig I want to go. Just arrive super early. I'll go with you. I was like, okay. So we arrived super early at the town pump in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And right behind that door was Courtney Love and her band Hole. Grant Lawrence offered to hold the video camera for me, and I had the microphone. And right behind that door was Courtney Love. And I was like, no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do the interview. But then, right then and there, Grant of the band, the Smugglers, physically pushed me into the room. And suddenly I was face to face with Courtney Love. And she said, you're Nardwaur. I told them to get you out of here. I hate your guts. Ah! And I'm like, well, I'm here to interview you. Here, Courtney, I'm here. I heard you like Players Light cigarettes. Would you like a gift of Players Light cigarettes? She was like, oh, that's my favorite. And then I talked to her, and the interview went amazing. She said, I give you gift of cigarettes, you get the interview. So then it was January 4th, 1994, and January 5th, 1995, that Nirvana were returning to Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, to the Peony Forum. Of course, Courtney Love was married to Kurt. So I thought maybe she'll be hanging around. So I decided I would try to get an interview with Kurt Cobain and Nirvana. But how was I going to do an interview? I remembered showing up to the venue super early. So I showed up to the Peony Forum with my friend Hugh. He was going to hold the video camera, and I was going to hold the microphone. As I arrived at Backstage at the Peony Forum in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, I left a note for Kurt. I was like, hey, Kurt, it's me, Nardwaur. You don't know me, but I interviewed your wife. Here is a cassette copy of the interview. Would you take this cassette home, read it, and read some stuff that I've done in interviews, and then do an interview with me? So I left kind of like a note and a cassette for Kurt Cobain to find. And then I proceeded with Hugh to hide in Nirvana's dressing room. I hid at the Peony Forum. And at the Peony Forum, they have like the dressing rooms. If you see my interview with Slipknot or My Chemical Romance, you will see washrooms in the back room. The interview with My Chemical Romance was not done in a washroom, but the washrooms were there. But I was like, okay, you could see that the washroom was there. I hid, me and Hugh, on top of toilet seats so they couldn't see our feet. Like I was hiding in the backstage. So I waited there probably about 20 minutes, and then sure enough, me and Hugh were discovered. A guy walked in there and said, who the hell are you? And I said, I'm the president of Sub Pop Records. He's like, no, you're not. Get the hell out of here. So I went home. And then I was eating dinner, because it was a 2-night gig. I was eating dinner, and I got a phone call from my friend Leora from the CBC in Vancouver. The CBC was supposed to do an interview with the Butthole Surfers, but it fell through. The Butthole Surfers were backing up Nirvana. They shared the same dressing room. So I thought I would love to talk to the Butthole Surfers, and also I had a chance maybe to run into Kurt again. So I went down to the Peony Forum. I did an interview with the Butthole Surfers, which you can actually see on YouTube. And sure enough, after the interview, Kurt Cobain walked in to the room, and I went up with that note and cassette I left earlier, and I said, hey, Kurt, it's me, Nardwaur. Would you do an interview with me? I interviewed your wife. He was like, no. And then I was like, oh, God. So I went home, and I had a good sleep that night knowing I tried. I really tried. But then remember, Nirvana were in Vancouver for 2 days, January 4th and January 5th, 1994. I got a phone call from my friend Hugh, who filmed the Butthole Surfers interview, and he said, hey, are you going to go after Nirvana again? They're in Vancouver. I was like, no, Kurt said no to me. Hugh was like, what are you doing right now? I'm like, well, nothing. He's like, exactly. You should go down to the Peony Forum right now. I was like, okay, I'll try again. But I'm not gonna go to the Peony Forum. I'm gonna go to the Four Seasons Hotel, because I bet they're staying at the Four Seasons. So me and Hugh camped out outside of the elevator of the Four Seasons Hotel, and everybody got off the elevator. We look. Sure enough, through the mist, Dave Grohl walked forward. And he actually said to me, hey, Nardwaur. I was like, how do you recognize me? I play in a band called The Evaporators, but also a band called The Goblins, where we wear sheets over our head. Dave had seen us play, but he didn't know what it looked like. And he was like, this is Nardwaur. Hey, how are you doing, Nardwaur? I was like, oh my God, Dave, can you put us on the guest list? Me and Hugh, can you put us on the guest list? He's like, yes. I'm like, yeah! So then, me and Hugh go down to the Peony Forum, and we're at the media desk, and we walk up there and we go, hey, I'm on the guest list. It's me, Nardwaur. And the guy at the door said, Nardwaur, you've been in this town long enough to know you're not on the guest list. I'm like, no, Dave Grohl really put me on the guest list. He's like, no, you're not on the guest list. And yesterday you said you're the president of Sub Pop Records. You're not on the guest list. I know, I really am. Right then and there, Kurt and Courtney walked in the wrong door. They walked in the media entrance, and I yelled up to Courtney Love, hey Courtney, it's me, Nardwaur. Remember, I interviewed you, Players Light. Here's a cassette of the interview, that I left for Kurt. She was like, I listened to that cassette last night. You have to learn how to edit. I'm like, no, please don't criticize my editing skills. She was yelling at me like down the stairwell. I'm like, okay, please, I'm a terrible editor, but I want to go backstage. She's like, look, Nardwaur, when you do an interview with somebody, you have to learn how to edit. I'm like, I don't want to edit. You want to? So we're arguing back and forth, and finally, the guy door says, get Nardwaur out of here. And Courtney Love said, no way. Nardwaur and his friend Hugh are coming backstage because Nardwaur is my cousin. My cousin Nardwaur. Next thing you know, Courtney Love drags me and Hugh backstage at the Peony Forum. And I say, oh, thank you so much, Courtney. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I was wondering, can I, Courtney, do an interview with Kurt? She said, why don't you go and ask him? So I walked up to Kurt Cobain and I said, hey Kurt, it's me, Nardwaur again. Will you do an interview with me? And he said, yeah! Welcome to Nardwaur's Video Volta. And we're just waiting for this to... Hello, technical. While we get that, what should I do? Hit the space bar? Okay. Okay. Welcome to Nardwaur's... My editing skills have not improved. Welcome to Nardwaur's Video Volta. Into my hand. She wasn't doing this on purpose. She was like, smoking and putting the cigarette down, and I was like holding the mic to her, but I was like so nervous and so transfixed that I did not notice what was happening. In other words, I didn't notice the nerves. So you forget about your nerves once things start rolling. But don't ever be afraid. Don't let anybody tell you, oh, I never get nervous before I'm going on stage. No, if you don't get nervous, then why are you doing that? It's really important to remember that. Also, I am no expert. That's why I'm still learning how stuff should happen. Like, for instance, at CITR Radio, I did an interview, Nardwaur the Human. The word human comes from the Crown song, Human Fly. Nardwaur to human. Serviette. Nardwaur is a dumb, stupid word. And serviette is, in Canada we have serviettes. In USA you have? So Nardwaur, the human serviette. So the Cramps came to town in Vancouver in the 90s. So obviously I was gonna do an interview with the Cramps. I was also offered an interview with Bjork of the Sugar Cubes. And what did I say? Fuck Iceland, oh no! In 2025, a lot of the interviews that Kai mentioned, like Kai knew of me, not from VHS tapes, but from interviews that Cole Bennett helped arrange. Yes, it was Cole that allowed me backstage at Summer Smash to see Little Uzi. Thank you. In other years, I would have not been allowed, like that guy at Nirvana, you'll never be backstage. Well, Cole let me backstage. So I really, really appreciate the support.
I think you got me.